Hello and welcome. I am Matt Roddy, and this is the Greater Prescott Podcast, where we talk about, you guessed it, all things Greater Prescott. Today, I am very excited to introduce to you my friend and branding expert, Tony De La Riva. Tony, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Excited about it.
In this episode, you will get to learn about Tony's background, about Tony's current line of work, what brought him to Prescott, and that's where we're going to begin.
Right on.
So, Tony, please give us about 5 minutes of where you were born and raised and some of your background to set the context for our listeners.
Sure. So, I'm a Central California native. I was born in Salinas, on the coast. I grew up in Fresno County, and in my early 20s, I moved to Phoenix to go to design school.
Okay.
Which I did, and I got my degree there. And I ended up being out there a little longer than I ever wanted or imagined. I was out there for almost 10 years, and hated just about every minute of it, except for like the first day that I got there.
Yep. The honeymoon, one day honeymoon.
Yeah. But a lot of good things happened out there. My life changed in a lot of good ways. And so I moved back home to Southern California, actually, about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And then ended up going up the coast. And that is where we've been planted for most of the last 10 years, basically.
Okay.
Near San Luis Obispo.
Yeah.
I worked as an agency designer up there for a really high-end marketing and communications agency. And then 4 years ago, I went out on my own as an art director and brand designer. And that's what I've been doing now for the last 4 years.
Okay.
Right there on the Central Coast near San Luis Obispo. And then 3 months ago, about 4 months ago now, we moved here to Prescott, so that I could. So here's kind of a monkey wrench in the conversation that I'm sure nobody sees coming. I actually moved out here to take a pastor opportunity, a part-time pastor opportunity at a small church here in the area.
Okay.
And I am a Christian. That was one of the things that happened out in Phoenix, is that I became a Christian, and started kind of working toward ministry. And it's been a slow climb and kind of on the side toward that. But here I am. So all that is to say that I moved here to do that, which I am doing, and I also still am continuing to run my studio at the same time.
All right.
And all of my clients right now are all back home in California.
Okay.
But so I'm brand new to the business community. I actually had my first kind of networking meeting a number of people yesterday.
Great.
Virtually, of course.
Yep.
But I had my first kind of, toe dip into the pool of the business community here yesterday morning. So really excited to get to know people and start interacting with, other local businesses and professionals here, which is why I'm really excited about this morning. I think this is a great way to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're going to come to learn that the small business community here is about everything.
Well, that sounds almost identical to the Central Coast. It's a smaller area, and people take a lot of pride in being local and from here in our area. And that's my impression about Prescott, about the Prescott area.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that aspect of it over in the San Luis area?
I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it very much. We really got comfortable there and felt at home. My wife and I, we have 4 little kids.
Nice.
We really got comfortable there. It was home. I loved the area. We lived right on the beach in a really kind of dramatic rocky cliffside kind of town.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, and I love the people. You know, my kids were born there. We had family just a few blocks from us. So I mean, I really loved it there, and it really felt like this is home. We didn't have any plans to leave. You know, all of this coming out here was really last minute.
Wow.
But I really loved it there. Really felt at home, and really felt proud to be a part of that community.
Okay.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you to begin to experience some of that here as well.
Yeah, me too.
It'll, like anything, it'll take some time.
Yeah.
But
a little more sweat than it did on the Central Coast.
Yes, especially in the summertime.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing, if I could, you know, just for whatever it's worth. So the church is Firm Foundation Bible Church in Prescott Valley. And the address, in case anybody is interested, is firmfoundationpv.org.
Gotcha.
And it's just a small, non-denominational Christian church where we value just basic, simple meat and potatoes things like biblical leadership and kind of preaching through the Bible, like just really one verse at a time and trying to understand what it says for what it means and that kind of thing. Yeah. So in case there's anybody at all who's interested in that, that's where they can find it.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
talk about your business.
Sure.
You used a word that gets thrown around in this arena that means a lot of different things. You said the word agency.
Yes.
Agency could mean a lot of things. So explain, it may give people a little bit of background, just a little on that, and then more where your focus is, because I think that's more or less what it comes down to.
Sure. So in my understanding, that's actually really good, and I don't know that I've ever given that a ton of thought. But in my understanding, an agency is an actual office, is a brick and mortar, or a virtual organization, but with with employees, with people who are employed by the organization. Whereas a studio, by contrast, is an art director with a team of creatives that are basically independent.
Okay.
You know, and a freelancer is just a lone wolf individual.
Yeah. All
right. So we're definitely more of a studio. I have a few creatives that I work with and that help me on different things as I oversee the creative and the direction of the work.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then what is your focus? Like if we were to boil down your agency.
Studio.
Your studio.
Yeah.
What do you tell... If people are in need of something, what do you tell them that you do so that they can learn if it could be a good fit?
Sure. So you and I have talked offline about this a little bit, and it is I think kind of it is one of those things that I think is a little bit abstract, like a financial planner. Like unless you know. You don't really know, and it's and it's a little bit hard to describe because it's more of a service and less of a product. So I think branding is like that, but branding is what I do.
Okay.
And what is branding? Well, it's a service, it's a strategic service, and it is basically communicating who you are and what you do to your target customer in a way that's clear and compelling. And every element of that has meaning. And of course, if you ask 10 people in the industry, you're going to get 10 different answers.
Yes.
But so far as I can tell, in my years of doing this, that is my understanding of what branding is. Branding is a business or an organization communicating who you are and what you do to your target customer in a way that is clear and compelling.
Yeah. Branding opens up an entire arena of conversation, of opinion, and oftentimes lack of implementation. Branding is in a sense an abstract thing for many businesses, and it's hard for them to get a grasp on what it is and why it's beneficial. And then even once they learn why it's beneficial, to actually do it in everything that they do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is that, because in itself, it's a set of principles. It's the principles that I just laid out in that definition. But it has definite kind of tactical points of implementation.
Right.
And I think, yeah, it is. So and I think that people aren't always. I think they don't know a lot of times what the principles are or where they're implemented, and I think that's where the kind of the fogginess is. But that said, even though I think people aren't necessarily working those things out, articulating those things in their own mind, they're doing them already, whether they like it or not or recognize it or
Absolutely.
not. They are branding necessarily, both on the strategic side and on the implementation side, and they're either doing those things consistently or not, or well or not, and they're either thinking about it or not, but they're definitely doing it.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
They're doing the branding,
Yeah.
whether it's been well thought out, well planned, whether it's consistent or inconsistent,
Yeah.
if it makes any sense or not. They're doing some sort of branding.
Right.
You can not
Yeah.
get away from it.
You can't.
And so I feel like let's flesh this out a little bit.
Okay.
So a majority of businesses in the United States are small business.
Sure.
They're going to employ a couple people.
That's right.
So let's just take an automotive mechanic, someone
Yeah.
who works on cars. So they know that they can fix cars.
Yeah.
So they go rent a shop and they start fixing cars. Well, they start giving a message to the people of some sort, and
Yeah.
it's going to go something like, hey, we fix cars. Maybe we're honest. We're not going to overcharge you.
Sure.
And there's an extent to which that doesn't go any further.
Yeah.
Whereas really digging in before or once you get started, you really sit down and you begin to craft.
Yeah.
What is my brand?
Yeah.
And it truly is. We are going to treat you, because you don't see your car when it comes into the shop and we do, we're going to tell you every little thing that we find.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, you begin to flesh out, but
Yeah.
you really miss the boat if you don't really dig down deep to begin to find those nuances
Yeah.
of what makes you different.
Yeah. So I think, okay, to your scenario, we're talking about this mechanic. So based on the scenario that you just gave me, I would say that they actually have if they are exactly who you've just said, like we fix cars and we're honest, like those are the cornerstones of their brand, because what is branding? It's communicating who you are and what you do. So you really have to start, the starting point really has to be like, I'm crystal clear about what I do. That's the starting point of it. So I would say in that scenario, they have a really great start.
Yeah, good point.
So that auto mechanics problem is not branding per se on the strategic side. Maybe it needs to be clarified a little bit. And here's what I mean.
Yeah.
So who are you and what you do? Who are you and what do you do? Well, we're a mechanic. Okay, great. You're not saying that you're a chef. You're not trying to do pedicures in the back of the garage, you know? So that's great. So you're clear on what you do. Now let's kind of push it a little bit further. Like, what kind of mechanic are you?
Yes.
Well, do you work on big rigs or do you work on cars? Well, we work on cars. Okay, let's push it a little further. Yeah. Do you work on imports? Do you work on, German cars only?
Right.
Do you work on, American cars? Are you just a general automotive? Well, we work on all kinds of cars. Okay, so with every question that we answer, you're getting a little bit more clear on. We're just filling that out a little bit more. Who are you and what do you do? And then to push it even a little bit further, there are certain values or certain value that we provide our clients, right? So, or our customers. So, okay. So what are you guys? Are you the high quality mechanic? or are you, like we'll do your brakes for $19.99.
Right.
Like, which one are you?
Yeah.
Are you the great deal
Are you a
mechanic?
bottom dollar? Are you
Yeah.
top dollar? Are you a
Right.
middle of the road?
That's right. Do you really want to emphasize honesty and family service? Do you really want to emphasize price? Do you really want to emphasize quality? Like, there are different kind of strong points or prominent points to
Yes.
what you do, so that comes in too. And then when you start talking to that mechanic, you find out, and the guy says, well, we're not the cheapest in town, but we really take a lot of pride in quality work.
Yes.
And you know what, by the way, a mechanic who comes to mind as we're thinking about it, and I'm going to forget their name because I just got to town and I took my car to them about a month ago. And they're in Prescott Valley. They're right off the freeway. And I am completely spacing it on the name. But I think if you have notes or something for the podcast, can I send that to you?
Absolutely.
And you can put it in later?
Yeah.
Because you know what? They just were a class act organization.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, this is interesting coming from someone who does what you do. So why was it such a great experience?
So, I am sure that they're not the cheapest in town, but man, they roll out the red carpet for you, and their facility is like top notch.
Okay.
It's super clean. Their work, there was no doubt in my mind that their work was super professional and organized. The guys were friendly. They got me in and they got me out. Yep. And it was a really great experience, and I am really sad that I'm not thinking of their name right now. Yeah. But so, okay. But back to the point, that mechanic has no problems with their branding in principle because they understand who they are and what they do, and they're really clear about it, even at a nuanced level.
Good.
Now, a lot of businesses are not.
Yeah.
For example, when I started out with my own studio, Della Riva Brands, when I started out, I actually started out on a couple of branding and marketing contracts.
Okay.
So we were actually taking care of the marketing as well as the branding. We're taking care of a number of things. We developed a website. We were hosting and maintaining the website. We did the branding. We were taking care of all the communications, and we're out here marketing the business as well. So I really had a hard time in the beginning, like nailing down what is it that I do. Well, I do some marketing, but I also do some web, and I also do some hosting, and I also do some print. Yeah. And I think a lot of businesses are there, and so their point is that they're not really clear on what it is that they actually do. Yep. Whereas that mechanic in our scenario, the guy knows exactly what he does.
Done.
So that guy is ready. He's ready to implement that. Yeah. Whereas when you're not really clear, you're in a little bit, you're on kind of shaky ground when it comes to implementation.
Yep.
Because you don't really know what to say to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is a fundamental thing when it comes to having a business, and it's something that I'm still working out. This is why it's also a fascinating conversation is what exactly do you do? Because if we take the mechanic, he doesn't fix everything with 4 wheels or 18 wheels. Yeah. And the sooner...
Take your moped in there, not his thing, not what he does.
The sooner that you can clarify what you do, the easier it makes it both for the consumer like me. Oh, great, you don't fix mopeds, I'll go to someone else. Right. Or, great, you just fix mopeds, well, then you're probably my guy. And on the business owner standpoint, they know that when they get a phone call and the guy says, hey, do you fix mopeds? Sorry, we don't, but here's someone who does. Or, yes, we fix mopeds and we've been doing it for 25 years and we're pretty good at it. Yeah. And it makes it streamlines the business owner's mind and focus. Right. And But here, I think for most small business owners, it's really hard because you want to cast a net that catches everybody. Yeah, I think a lot do. And it's very backwards to really where you can hone in and have an enjoyable, successful business. You have to niche. Yeah. That's where the clarity comes in, the consistency. Yeah. So I would actually say that I think,
that niche like you're talking about. I think that a lot of times people hear that and they think, okay, wow, what should I specialize in? Well, let me look at what people like. Oh, people like pizza, so I should do pizza.
Yeah.
They kind of look at it like that. But instead, the real starting point is not out there or what should I do that people are going to like. The real starting point is like, what do I do? You know, that's the real starting point. Like, what is it that I really do?
Yeah.
Because you know what? The guy that started, you know, In-N-Out Burger, and I don't know who that was off the top of my head, but he was like, you know what? I don't do pre-frozen patties. I pound them out myself. They're fresh every day, and I cook them on a flat top, and they're medium rare, and I season them just right, and that's the way I do it, which is light years from the way McDonald's does it. I do burgers this way, and you know, with these elements and with this process, and that's what makes them great.
Yep.
Whereas the guys that did McDonald's were like, you know what? We can crank these suckers out in 30 seconds and give them away for 39 cents and still make a profit. And people have their food right away and they can take it on the go and whatever else. So my point is just this, that like, you know, understanding what you do is really the key to niching. You don't niche by trying to niche. You niche by understanding what you do, you know. And I mean, going back to the illustration of our mechanic, you know, that guy knows exactly what he does. Like, he's ready to implement.
Yep.
He has his niches defined because he knows what he's doing. You know.
Yeah. I'm really hashing mine out currently. Like, what is going to work for me? What do I enjoy doing? What doesn't? And I received a message earlier this week where someone asked me to do something, and my gut instinct was, no, it's not a good fit, but it could be a really good opportunity. So when I sat on it for a couple days, it was very clear that the direction that I want to go, that's not a good fit.
Yeah.
And here's the problem. It's going to take away a significant amount of time and resources in a direction that while I like that, it's not ultimately the direction I'm going. And so that's another thing that a small business owner can do, or any business owner, is know who they are and what they do, so that they're not a squirrel. Right.
And you know, the temptation is, like you said, the temptation for a lot of businesses, it really is to think, well, I don't want to lose that potential client, so let me offer this, you know. But to use the illustration again of the mechanic, you know, it is like going into the mechanic shop and, you know, and you're like, can you guys get me out of here by 9:30? Because I got a pedicure at 10.
Right.
Well, we can do a pedicure. Hey, you know, John, can you break out that, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work. Like, you can't do that. Like you said, they don't have the resources. They don't have the expertise. It's going to take them a lot of time. And there's no way that they're going to be able to charge enough to recoup the cost that went into doing it.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah. Yep.
You can only do what you can do. And the clearer you are on what you do, you know, the more concrete, the more sound your brand is going to be at the structural level, at the principle level, and then you're ready to implement it.
Yeah,
you know, you're ready to flesh it out at that point.
Exactly, and it makes what has been so evident in my own mind is when I'm clear on what I do. It's very easy to field a phone call and go, you know what, I'm just not going to be able to help you out with that.
Yeah.
But here's someone who can.
Yeah.
Or, you know what, that's actually something I'm really good at and I really enjoy. I would love to help you. Where you know, you literally look at your brand, your foundation, and go, oh yeah, that fits.
Right.
Perfect. Or it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And getting to a place where you know that.
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden you're not tempted.
Right.
This doesn't fit.
Right.
It's fairly black and white.
Yeah.
I don't fix big rigs.
Yep.
I just do imports.
Right.
Whatever that case is.
Yeah.
Yep. Really, really important.
Yeah.
Like
crucially important.
And the sooner you can get a grasp on it, I don't care for the word success a whole lot. It
Yeah.
just it gets into this land of, is it about the money? Is it about this? What I really think that branding can do for you as a business owner
Yeah.
is help you enjoy being a business owner a lot more than
Yeah.
what you are now.
Yes, it definitely
And
can.
most business owners started because they more or less enjoyed being a mechanic in a sense. It was
That's
something
right.
they were
yeah.
good at.
I make burgers. I
make
just make
burger-
good burgers.
Exactly.
I just want to make people good burgers.
And then
You know?
and then it starts to get to a point where they don't enjoy it business is
Yeah.
just really hard.
Oh,
So the-
okay.
so
So you
the-
guys want fries, or you guys want a salad?
Yeah.
You guys want a salad bar?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys want a vegetarian option?
Yeah.
You know, and I gotta do all the accounting too. You know, and it's exactly that.
You want
like,
a pedicure? Oh,
yeah,
okay, I think we can figure that
right.
out.
You don't want to turn people away, and you don't want to
Right.
miss the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and instead you just end up doing all kinds of things that are outside of what you
Yeah.
really do.
And then you're probably going to lose.
Then you're probably
Yeah,
gonna lose.
whether you
Yeah.
you fail, your business fails, or whether you just don't enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Now, so for the what we're talking about right now, it sounds like what we're talking about is we're talking maybe more about the solopreneur right now.
Okay.
Is just what
Yes.
at this point is what it sounds like. But I think so. I help small businesses.
Okay.
Not I don't think that I have any. I have one client who is an individual. I don't have many clients who are individuals.
Who are solo, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
or who are starting out. Really, who I help is businesses, and I would say about half the time, maybe 60-70% of the time, they are absolutely clear on what they do. Like, they know what they do, they know how they do it, they know the value points within what they do, and they just need help with the implementation of it.
Okay.
And so that's where I come in. But I would say maybe about 40% of the time, there is a little bit of kind of helping my clients think through, okay, like, what's really the meat and potatoes here, and what are the really strong value points. So, so in order to figure that out, we just do a lot of listening. I mean, we do a lot of listening anyways, and I would say that really is like the fundamental kind of cornerstone of my
Yes.
product is just really listening and understanding. But a lot of times we help our clients figure out what it is that they do just by listening and asking questions. And, well, let's talk about what you've been doing to this point and what is it that you want to do. And let's do some research if we need to and conduct some surveys and really figure this out.
Yep.
And so, and then from that point, once we have that clarified, then we're ready to implement.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it all starts with that clarifying.
It all starts with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
And that's
Yeah.
unfortunately one of the easiest things to skip over when you start a business.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm good at being a mechanic. I'm just going to open up the garage door and
Right.
start.
Or what else they do is, like, people say what businesses will say what people think they should say, what they think people think they should say.
Amen.
And a good example of that really is the church that I'm at, right? Firm Foundation Bible Church. So my partner and I there, Lloyd Murphy, Lloyd and I sat down and talked about, like, before, what is it that we value. Now, in my experience, in 15 years now of being a Christian, and I didn't have any like religious upbringing before that. Like, I wasn't even Catholic. But my experience being a designer and a Christian is that a lot of churches approach their branding, so to speak, because, again, everybody's doing it necessarily,
Yes.
right? So churches approach their branding like this. Well, we're welcoming, we're all about community, because they think that's what people expect. Like, they expect people to expect that, and so they say that. But when you ask them, well, what do you really care about? Well, we really care about marching through the Bible, one verse at a time, book by book, week in and week out. Okay, well, that's what you need to say.
Yep.
You can't say what you expect people to expect. And a lot of times it's like really subconscious. They're just saying what,
absolutely.
And a lot of businesses do that. Like they're like, well, I just kind of have this half-baked assumption that I haven't really thought through, and it really is just kind of more of an impulse in me that people want cheap. So I've got to try to give them a deal. But when I think about what I do, I'm like, no, this is the Cadillac in my sphere, in my arena, And what I really want to charge is a higher,
right.
Like I'm actually charging an upper tier.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I start trying to tell people that I'm the cheap option, they get in. What ends up happening is they come in the door because they heard cheap. So people who are looking for cheap came for cheap. Right? Just like people who are looking for pedicures come for pedicures,
yes.
or people who are looking for mechanics come for mechanics. People hear cheap, and so they come in the door, and they're like $9.99, and you're like, well, actually, it's like $19.99, and they're like, wow, that's like twice as much as I wanted to pay. Mm-hmm. And in reality, you should be charging double that, so you should be charging $39.99 because the way that you do the work is actually at that level. Yep. And those are the kinds of resources that are going into it. And so what happens is they're frustrated because they've paid more than they want to pay, and they're not happy with the product. And you're frustrated because you just worked for, $3.50 an hour, exactly. And you actually had to end up paying a whole bunch of money, in the process just to do that job. So I don't even remember my point, and I'm going on, and maybe it's the coffee. But, clarity is key.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. I've actually been really intrigued by this idea of a business owner setting out to be the most expensive, mm-hmm. which is let's just take a landscaper. Yeah. So landscaping.
Can I use a real life example?
Let's do.
And you don't know them, but quality. They used to be quality signs and tint in San Luis Obispo. Okay. But if you guys, I have a white Ford Flex that has my, Del Riva logo kind of plastered on the side of it. And that's what I drive around town. It's in big red letters on the side of my vehicle. I know that a number of people have said, oh, you drive that car? Yeah. Anyways, quality in San Luis Obispo, they're the ones that did it. And the owners, Austin and Michaela, awesome people, just really class act people. And they'll tell you that same thing. They're like, we're the most expensive in the area, but they are the best.
And we're the best.
And they are the best.
And here's why. Yeah. And to be, again, very clear about it. Mm-hmm. There's almost a sense of, I don't want to be the most expensive, as opposed to, hey, I am the most expensive, and here's why. Yeah. We roll out the red carpet.
Man, do they.
We give you a gift basket. Like,
they
whatever
do.
It is that happens, there's absolutely a race to the bottom in terms of being the cheapest.
Right.
Anyone, I mean, you kind of talk to it, but business owners oftentimes get sucked into being the cheapest.
Yeah, because they think that's what people expect.
Yeah, and I would say it's as far from that, which is why I'm more interested in, hey, why don't you just say you're the most expensive and give them reasons? Yeah. And then obviously you have to follow through, and it doesn't come without a cost.
Yeah.
And just a really interesting thing that business owners can think about.
Along those same lines, and it's been years since I looked at these studies, but about 7 or 8 years ago, I really had a little stretch where I was just really interested in pricing and value. And I read a bunch of studies at that time, and I can't remember them anymore, what the sources were. But I remember reading multiple studies that specifically said that when people were presented with a more expensive option and a lesser expensive option, like 70 or 80% went with the more expensive option. And, when they were presented with 3, most of the people went here, a few of the people went here, and nobody went here. And the conclusion of those studies was that nobody took the cheap option. And I think that we all know that. Like, all of us, everybody listening to this, and you and I ourselves, are all willing to spend a little bit more. I don't necessarily want to go out and buy the Ferrari of everything.
Right.
I don't want to do that. But I'm definitely willing to spend a little bit more money in order to get the quality product. And the point is just this. People are not looking for cheap. They're looking for value.
I agree.
And value is a little bit, relative to their own
Absolutely, it's subjective
experience
to a certain extent.
Yeah, right. It's relative to their own needs and preferences and whatever else, right? But at the end of the day, people want value, and they really don't care how much something costs. If they know they're getting value, they're happy to pay the price.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like quality, right? I went to Quality. I mean, they are awesome. I'm happy to pay their price because I know that their work is top notch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my clients feel that way about me, which I'm thankful for.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep. So if someone comes and says, hey, I'm looking for the cheapest person who does branding.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm really sorry that's not what I do.
Yeah.
And here's someone who may be able to help you or whatever. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Or you could say, you know what? I am not the most affordable, but here's why I charge what I charge. And if that fits for you, great.
Yeah. And so we're not, if somebody goes to an agency, as far as agencies go, I mean, I've been on $20,000 logo projects, $25,000 logo projects. I've been on, $400,000, $800,000 accounts. My studio is not there,
right?
Whatever. Which is one of the benefits of being a studio is that you have, you just kind of have a lighter
flexibility.
a little more flexibility and agility, and you don't need that, like an agency would. For whatever that's worth. But so I think to this point we've been talking a lot about the strategy side of it. Who you are and what you do.
Yep.
That's what we've been talking about this whole time, right? But the other part of it is communicating that, who you are and what you do, in a way that is, you communicate that to your target customer in a way that's clear and compelling. And the communicating to your target customer in a way that's clear and compelling, that's the implementation.
You used an analogy when we met a few weeks ago that that branding is somewhat like the gun and the bullet, or the ammunition is like the tactics or like the marketing side of things.
Yeah.
Can you clarify that again?
Yeah, sure.
Because this is a really helpful
Okay.
thing to separate
Yeah, it is.
a couple of things because there's two different things going on here, but they're integrated to a certain extent.
So the basic question is like, what am I saying? And then the tactical part of that is like, how do I say that out there? How do I get my message out there?
Yep.
And the analogy that I used was that, who you are and what you do, being clear about who you are, those are the bullets. And then pulling the trigger, that's the actual implementation part. That's how you get it out there, because that's literally what you're doing when you're shooting a gun, right? I mean, you're getting that bullet out there, hopefully in a right way, But I mean, the point that I'm just saying is that there's what you say, and then how you get that out there is the tactical implementation part. Yeah.
And what this brings to my mind, and probably what a lot of business owners have experienced, is there's just so many moving parts to being a business owner.
Yeah.
It's pretty darn hard.
It's very hard.
And there's just so many components to it that most business owners get started because they love something, said product. Yeah. And then they have to start doing a bunch of other stuff to make it happen. And so you start talking about branding, and we've probably lost a million people already because they're like, I can't even get to that point.
Yeah.
Yet we're now just sort of getting to the actual tactics of how you do that.
Yeah.
Because you can't do it unless you know what in the world you're doing.
Yeah.
So I always tell people it's a long-term commitment.
Yeah.
It's not like, my guess is most of your clients don't work with you for 2 months or 3 months.
That's right. Yeah.
Guys, it's a long-term, it's who you are.
Yeah.
And it's a long-term process.
Right. Well, I wouldn't say, it's not necessarily a process in terms of development. Like, I just want to be clear about that. If it's taking you a long time to figure out who you are, you're going to fail long before you get there.
Great point.
So the process of development is not long term. The process of development is like, kind of something that you do right away.
Yes.
And
Happens
that you
pretty
get
quickly.
squared away at the beginning. Yeah. But the process of
The next
yeah,
step.
the life of your business
Yes.
is a long
That's-
game.
yep.
Yeah, so you're right in that sense. You know, my clients have been with me. All of my clients that I have, my kind of cornerstone, my staple clients, like they've all been with me for years.
Yeah.
You know, well, for years. I've been doing this for 4 years now. So I mean, you know, 2 to 4 years. All my main clients have been with me for that long. Yeah,
Yeah, and I would urge a business, if they're truly looking for something like what you offer, they have to have the mindset that they're settling in for a long time.
I would say that anybody opening a business has to have that mentality.
I would agree.
There's a right way to go about it. You know, there's a right way to go about it, and you know, I don't think many businesses that maybe are going to be watching this or that we would talk to would be at the level of what I'm going to say right now. But there are people out there that think, you know what, I'm gonna go on one of those free online logo generators, and I'm gonna print my business cards up at home on my out of Microsoft Word on my home printer and print them up on printer paper, and I can tape two sides together, you know, so that they're
double-sided.
Yeah. So I think that people who go into it with that mentality, that they want to put nothing into their business and actually think that they're going to grow business is delusional, for lack of a better term. Like, it's not going to happen, you know. But there really is nobody that I talk to that does that, and I don't expect anybody here. Yeah. But just for whatever that's worth, it's definitely a commitment, and you know, it takes elbow grease, it takes time and money. Yeah.
It takes elbow grease and time, no matter how you do it. So that this is where I always stress: why don't you do it the right way? Yeah. Or at least what appears to be the best way of doing it. And really, here's my end game. I want people to enjoy what they do. Yeah. Yes, they need to make a financial living. We all know that. But there does come a point when they are able to pay the bills, but man, they are stressed out and they're exhausted. Yeah. And there's something that I think branding does in your heart that helps clarify so many things that you're able to take a deep breath and you're able to do things that actually fit your model. It really fit you, ultimately. It's your heart. Yeah. So the success, you could use a bunch of different words. I want you to really enjoy being a mechanic. Yeah. As much as you can. Right. Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's where branding can really help a business owner.
Yeah, it can. It definitely can. And you know, one of the ways is that it does that is just by attracting the right clients and filtering out the bad ones. Amen. Like, because if you do, I'm a mechanic. Okay, nobody who wants pedicures is coming to you. You know, like, I am an expensive mechanic. Okay, nobody who's looking for the deal is coming to you. Yep. So your branding absolutely can make your life easier. You know, and so, I mean, I can say that De La Riva Brands, now here we are 4 years in, going on 5 years in, you know, De La Riva Brands, we receive, all of our leads are from people who are looking for what we do and appreciative of the value that we provide. And I think a big part of that is just the way that we present what it is that we do. Yeah. You know, I think people understand that, you know, we're trying to do good work. And the people who come to us are looking for that. Yeah. You know, so I'm thankful for that. Yeah. Yeah.
So if someone's not looking for that, they probably won't go to you.
Yeah. That's
and
right.
You'll know to let them know that's not what we do.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about who you are and what you do all this time. But what does the implementation look like? That's the one thing that we haven't talked about yet.
Can of worms. We'll talk to it a little bit.
Okay. So you know, there has to be, how you say it is a combination of a visual and verbal message. You know, Nike, just do it. Picture in your mind a Nike ad and just describe for me a Nike ad. You're flipping through Sports Illustrated, right? And There's a full-page Nike ad.
Yep.
You describe for me what that ad looks like.
It could have probably has an athlete doing maybe one of their athletic moves with the logo, the Nike logo in front of them.
Yeah.
I don't know, LeBron jumping in the air,
Yeah.
dunking.
What's the athlete wearing?
Nike shoes, first off.
Yeah.
But athletic clothes typically.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so, and and then it says just do it right underneath.
Yeah.
So the point is that the voice that you use to communicate is a kind of a collection of consistent and coherent and accurate visual and verbal cues. Assets, or is really how we talk about them. So you have your colors and your fonts. I mean, describe the Nike font to me. What does it look like? You tell me. Does it look like Old English? Does it look like flowery circle letters?
No,
it doesn't.
I don't know, clear.
Kind of blocky, clean, slanted,
it's super
right?
Clean.
It kind of conveys a little bit of
funny
movement.
I see what it looks like in my mind.
You see what I'm talking
very
about.
Clear.
Yeah. So what if you looked at that Nike ad and you had somebody you had like a woman in Victorian 1890s dress, a big, one of those big foofy dresses, and it looks like a kind of circus a little bit, and it's like pink and frilly, and it has this kind of circus Old English type font, and it says just do it, and they're trying to sell shoes.
Yeah.
That's not accurate or consistent or coherent, And so when it comes to, what does it need to look like and sound like, there really is not rocket science involved there. I mean, you can do studies.
I would agree.
You can do studies. You can analyze it to death and do research to death and find out, okay, what shades of blue do people like? Like, you can do all that stuff, but in my experience, it's actually pretty basic. Like, if you're a coffee shop, look like a coffee shop.
Amen.
If you're selling athletic equipment, look like you sell athletic equipment.
Yeah.
If you're a circus, look like a circus.
Amen.
Yeah, it's really basic, and I think, and so just at a basic level, it needs to be accurate and it needs to be consistent. Like, look like a circus everywhere if you're a circus. Like, don't have your print ad look like Nike and then your billboard look like a circus, and then your trifold brochure look like a Western saloon, Like, don't do that. Be consistent everywhere. And that really is just, I mean, we're done with the implementation. Like, that's it. Just make it accurate and consistent, so that every single time people see it, they know that they're looking at you, and they know exactly what they're looking at. Oh, it's Nike. They sell higher-end athletic equipment. And wherever I see Nike communications, whether it's online or in a print ad or on a billboard somewhere, wherever I see it, I'm going to know exactly what I'm looking at.
Absolutely.
And then, and then it's everywhere. It's in as many places as they can put it.
Yep.
And that's really the implementation, You have a set of assets that are accurate and clear and excellent. They're compelling. They're attractive. They draw me in instead of repulsive and driving me away. It's not ugly or cheap, but it has a certain degree of dignity and excellence to it and attractiveness to it. And then I just put it everywhere I can, So I do a podcast on the Greater Prescott Podcast, I put it on the side of my car. I put it online. I run some ads. I'm on social media. I'm out in the community doing trade shows or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm putting it everywhere I can put it, And that's the implementation.
Yep.
But I'm only going to implement it well and effectively. It's only going to give me the fruit that I'm looking for if I've got, the structure right.
The foundation.
The foundation's right, which is who am I and what do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise, I don't mean to just talk and talk, but here's one more illustration that I think about when I think about this. So if you drive to work every morning, you probably take the same route, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me or whatever place it is that you go on a regular basis, almost daily basis. You probably take the same exact route every time. Okay, tell me the last 20 cars that you saw.
Oh, I have no idea. Oh, brother.
Tell me one car that you see every day. Regularly.
A construction Ford truck at my neighbor's house.
Okay, and you see that one, and it's that truck that you know, and so the point is this, that when you see something different every single time, it doesn't stick with you. But what branding does, when you say the same thing the same way every time, it's like that car that you see every day.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't remember any of the cars I see, but man, that red Tesla.
Yeah.
That guy who drives that red Tesla, I see that car every single morning, and man, that's a sharp car.
Yep.
And that's what that consistency does. Consistency in implementation and consistency in getting it out there every day.
Yep.
So people are seeing it all the time and they know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And that's the one that's memorable.
Yep. I think you brought up a really good point of overthinking things.
Yeah.
It's really easy for us business owners to get sucked into, this shade blue, I don't know if it's going to quite catch their eyes, maybe a little lighter, darker.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, just try to.
Those kinds of things, I just ask the client, okay, well, which blue do you like? At that point, we know that, okay, well, we're a circus, so we've got to look like that. We can't look like Nike. So we've got that basically right. So, which shade of blue do you like? Let's use that one.
Let's go.
And let's do it.
Because your shade of blue for the one ad you run is going to do nothing.
Yeah,
but
that's
your
right.
shade of blue for the 100 ads that are consistent and in line with your brand.
Yep.
That's the winner.
That's going to stick in people's mind.
That's where I get, because I love the tactical side of stuff. And so it's the people getting lost in a logo, like, should I make this line here? And all of a sudden you've sunk a bunch of time and money into a logo.
Yeah.
There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. No. However, don't get lost in the weeds.
Yeah.
Like, you got to tell people.
Right.
And you have to do some foundational work first.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting you brought up Nike. And this, I think, will maybe hit home for our listeners. It'll be a very good visual. Someone once said, if you know Nike, we all know Nike. Mm-hmm. If Nike opened up a hotel, what would it look like? More than likely, you have a sense of what it's going to look like, what the colors, how it's going to feel, what's going to be inside. You're going to have some sense to things.
Yeah.
If Hyatt, the hotel chain, started a shoe company, no one has any clue what their shoe is going to look like, because Nike has done such a good job at creating a brand.
Yeah.
That you have a sense of if they did something in another arena, another space, you would have a sense of what they do.
Well, I think, so now we're going back to I see what you're saying, and I think that that's true if Nike took their brand and applied that to a hotel, then that's would be right. Yeah. But what I suspect is that if Nike did attempt to get into the hotel industry, that it would be kind of a separate subdivision of Nike, and you wouldn't necessarily know it. It would have its own brand voice and its own aesthetic that would be as recognizable as their athletic gear brand. You see, so I think even that. We're just going back and reinforcing the point that you've just got to be clear about what you do, and it's got to be accurate when you say it.
That's it.
Yep.
So that's why I don't overthink it, guys.
Don't overthink it.
Be clear from the beginning and be consistent when you go out and do it.
And it's difficult to say it enough, but it's the key really is just being clear about what you do, and when you have that right, when you got that nailed down, the implementation is relatively easy,
I agree.
And then you put it together, you get all your collateral, you get the website built, you get your car wrapped, and you start pumping the ads out. Yeah.
Well said.
Yep.
Why do you do what you do?
Well, I do it because I'm good at it. I don't mean to. I'm not trying to exalt myself by
No.
saying that, but I'm good at it. I started off as a good old-fashioned graphic designer and
Okay.
web designer, and tactically speaking, just at a really basic level, those are the tactics for our purposes, for this purposes of my studio.
Yeah.
When we develop the brand, the implementation for us looks like print, collateral, and web design. So we do print and web for our clients, and a lot of copywriting, like ad creation, things like that. We help with campaign development, but it's always so that it can be implemented somewhere, and the final product looks like an ad in the newspaper,
Yeah.
or a series of digital ads, or a website.
Yes.
So I do what I do because my work has always been kind of creative and like attractive in quality in that way. I think I've always kind of been an artistic person.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to exalt myself in that, but where I went from being just a graphic designer,
Yep.
quote unquote, to a strategist and a consultant was thinking about what design actually does. And in that sense, I'm just kind of wired to think that
Yeah.
way. Like
Yeah.
what's the underlying structure
Absolutely.
of this? And so thinking about, design and visual communication from that level is really what kind of got me into what I'm
Awesome.
doing today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit about the Prescott area.
Sure.
I know you've only lived here 4 or so months.
I don't even think it's been 4 full months yet.
What are your initial impressions?
Well, right now it's hot. When I first got here, it was super cold.
Yeah.
But I'm used to, I got here in March, and I'm used to, kind of 68 degrees all year.
Yep.
Which is very easy to get used to really
Pretty
quickly.
much.
And so I got here, it was like 20 degrees every day, 25 degrees, and I was freezing.
Yeah.
And right now, as we sit here, I'm sweating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it's nothing like Fresno where I grew up, and it certainly is nothing like Phoenix.
Yeah.
So that part I am very thankful for, and I'm glad we're gonna probably be done with this in a month or two, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I can live with that if this is as bad as it gets.
It's also hard to come off your weather
Yeah.
where you've been acclimated to for years
I know.
to go anywhere, frankly.
Yes, it
so
is,
no
right.
matter how you put it, because we lived in Chicago for a short time.
Okay.
We left Chicago, so we had just spent the whole winter and spring in Chicago.
Yeah.
We then moved back to Phoenix, so we basically went from like it had just snowed, a month ago to over 100, and it was really hard. And I actually that came to mind as I've talked to you, like that's kind of where you're at.
Yeah.
Which is just it's a hard change.
Yeah, and people say I'll get used to it, and I'm glad. For the most part, I would say 90+%, I have really enjoyed the evenings here.
Yeah.
There have been some days where I'm like, man, it's 9:00 and it's still like 80 degrees. Like, come on, you know. But I mean, for the most part, though, I've been really, the area itself is like beautiful.
Good.
Like the mountains and stuff.
Yep.
I really like that. So overall, it's the cost of living is nice compared to where we came from.
Yeah, a little different.
Yeah. So I mean, all those things I really appreciate about this area and are really nice to kind of have getting into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's close out with, I'm going to ask you a couple fun questions. And since you have not been in the area long, I'm not sure if you'll have an answer. Just the first thing that comes to mind.
All right.
So far, what is your favorite thing about Greater Prescott?
Well, the weather, that it's not like super hot.
Yeah.
So the days are uncomfortable, but overall, it's not Fresno or Phoenix, and I am really thankful for that. That's probably my favorite thing.
Okay.
I'm a big weather guy, man. I
Yeah.
hate heat like nobody you know. And anybody who sees this who knows me knows that about me.
Mhm.
I just have always hated the heat. So I don't mean to just keep talking about the weather, but that's probably the biggest stone in my bucket when it comes to where I live.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would say that so far that's my favorite thing about
Okay.
this place. Yeah.
What's a good restaurant that you've eaten at since you've been here?
Oh man, what is it? Limoncello's?
Limoncello.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
That's what it's called, right?
Yep.
Limoncello's.
Yeah.
I went there. I went and had my anniversary dinner with my wife last month at your guys' restaurant, and it was the bomb. You guys, it was on point, man. Limoncello's. If you have not been there, go there. I mean, it was bomb. Yeah.
I've done a video with Matteo, the owner.
Have you?
And him and his wife are straight from Italy.
I know.
That wood fire oven is from Naples.
Oh,
Like,
man.
it's as authentic as I think you can get.
The bomb. Go if you
Amen.
have not been.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you look forward to doing here in the greater Prescott area?
Well, I definitely look forward to. I really look forward to building a network. So I look forward to making this place home. You know, I thought a lot about that as I was leaving, and I've been pretty homesick since we left.
Yeah.
Like I said, I loved where we were. You know, my business grew there. My kids were born there. We had family there. I really enjoyed the area. I left with there were a lot of things that I wish I had done that I didn't.
Right.
But I left with no regrets because I really took advantage of where we lived, you know, in the area.
Good.
And as I've thought about that, I thought, okay, what makes a place home, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's having a network. It's having kind of stable livelihood.
Yep.
And it's kind of taking advantage of the area that you live in.
Absolutely.
And if you can do those three things, then that place will become
You're
home
really
to you.
gonna enjoy it.
You know, so I'm looking forward to, like yesterday I went to my first networking meeting like I was
Yeah.
telling you about. I'm looking forward to getting to know those people. I'm looking forward to getting to know the people at our church, our neighbors, developing friendships like with people like you. We met through Instagram, right? I'm looking forward to building a network and building relationships with people. I'm looking forward to getting out and doing the things here in the area that there are to do. Like, I like fishing.
Yeah.
You know, I like doing stuff like that. I want to get out and do stuff like that and really experience this area.
Good.
You know.
You'll have time.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to making this place home.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
What is your favorite brand in terms of how they function?
Man, my favorite brand.
Or a couple quick ones.
Yeah.
Just boom, boom, boom.
Oh man, you got me. You know, I don't know. It doesn't really answer your question, but I'm a huge 49er fan, San Francisco 49er fan, and have been my whole life. As I've thought about it over the years, I thought, okay, where is a person's loyalty when it comes to a team?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes teams move. Like the sorry Raiders right now are moving to Las Vegas, which I hate the Raiders, but I still think that's a shame, and I really feel sorry for those, you know, for Raider fans. You know, but you know, they're still going to be Raider fans, even though they're going to Las Vegas. So it's not necessarily the location that people are tied to.
Right.
You know. And is it the players? No, because you know what? Joe Montana went to the Chiefs, and I was still a Niner fan. Yeah. Jerry Rice went to the Raiders, and I'm still a 49er fan. You know? So, like, it's not to the players. So where's my loyalty? And I cannot think, really, I don't know what else it is outside of the aesthetics, the visual voice of the team itself. And even if it changes, I'm still a fan. Like Broncos fans, you know, they had the orange and blue prior to what was it? Maybe 1995 or something like that. And then they went to a more kind of streamlined, stylized horse with navy blue and orange, you know, instead of the old. I mean, football fans are going to know what I'm talking about, but they still stayed fans. So I think it's something in the consistency of the name. So all of that is to say, I'm a 49er fan, And if they change cities and change names and change colors, I wouldn't be anymore, and I don't know where I would go.
Yeah.
So the 49ers are probably one of my favorite brands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question.
Yeah.
If you weren't if you weren't a studio owner,
Okay.
what would you be doing?
Well, probably pastoring full time.
Yeah.
You know, that's really the only other thing that I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I love business
Mm-hmm.
and entrepreneurialism, and I love networking, and I love helping build businesses, and I love, you know, branding and marketing and all of those things. I love all that stuff. So I hope I find ways to keep doing that, you know, in my life. I like designing. I hopefully can be able to keep doing that no matter what I do. But in my heart of hearts, you know, the thing that I really want to do long term and want to spend my life doing really is pastoring.
Awesome.
You know, yeah.
How can people get in touch with you?
Okay.
Tell them.
So visit my website. Visit our website at www.delarivabrands.com. I'm sure that you'll have somewhere where you'll put a link to that, right? But it's D as in Delta, ELARIV as in Victor, A, and then brands, BRANDS.
Okay.
.com. Delariva Brands. Yep.
Easy.
Yeah.
You'll probably see his car, the Ford Flex, driving around town with the brand.
A lot
on
of
it.
people already have.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
great.
a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's your car," you know. So yeah.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions, I always find that hopefully this just sparked something in your head that, hey, I want to start thinking more about this or that. Tony's just a great resource to start with. You know, oftentimes it just simply starts with asking questions and getting some more information, having some more time to think about it. So please use Tony as a resource. And if Tony can help you out, he'd love the opportunity.
Yeah.
And if not, he'll tell you someone who can. He'll at least be a resource for you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it.
Awesome. You guys, I will put all of Tony's information up, and I hope you learned something. Ultimately, our goal in doing the podcast is to create value for people. And if you're a business owner, you absolutely will have learned something, and hopefully something actionable. Hopefully something you can implement. My advice, stop overthinking and just go do it.
Just what do you like to do? Just say that.
Amen. From the heart.
Yep. Just be clear about it.
Perfect. Tony, thank you for your time. And you guys, thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful day.